Stand clear of the closing doors, please.
My name is Saraciea Fennell, and I'm a publicist working in the book publishing industry.
According to the New York Times, the Bronx remains the poorest county in New York and the poorest in the United States.
I work in primarily children's books. Currently, I work for Macmillan Publishers for one of their imprints, and so I'm working on some of the adult books. And what I do is books are acquired and then assigned to me, so I read them and I work with the authors to pitch them for media so that they're getting interviews. So that can range from radio interviews, newspaper interviews, television interviews, all types of interviews really, and also doing things with bloggers. And then the second part of my job is to arrange events for them. And I do lots of writing, so writing pitch materials, writing press releases, and things like that. I sort of stumbled into publishing, so I think most minority parents want their children to grow up and have really very well-paid jobs. So that's, become a doctor, become a lawyer, or do something in business is generally like the three that I feel like everyone is told to grow up and aspire to do something in those fields. And so I went to college to study accounting. So I did that for 3 years, and I realized it was very boring and it wasn't for me. After several internships though, it's not like I just one day was like, oh, I hate this. I actually did like it the first couple of years, and then so I changed my mind and I transferred from Iona College in New Rochelle and went to City College here in New York and studied English. I thought I would end up becoming a high school teacher or something like that. And while I was there, my advisor was like, you really love reading. You're about to graduate soon. Have you considered, other outlets besides trying to become a teacher? And I thought about it and I said, no. I mean, what else is there to do with an English degree besides, do like journalism or become a teacher? And I said, I'm leaning more towards becoming a teacher. And she said, I want you to go talk to these folks that oversee the publishing certificate program there. And I said, okay, right, you trust your advisor. So I went and did that, and after talking to them, I ended up enrolling in the program, and I learned all about book publishing, which blew my mind because I honestly didn't really know it existed. Obviously, we all know that books are products and produced and someone's writing them, but it's not something I really paid attention to. And I discovered that there are so many different types of jobs in book publishing. So you have what I do, which is publicity. There's also marketing, there's sales, there's editors, different types of editors too. There's copy editors, there's managing editorial, production. So there are all these different moving parts that I didn't really know about in the beginning. So taking that certificate course really, really got me interested, and I figured the best option for me was publicity because I love writing, but I also love talking about books naturally. So it just worked out really well because for publicists, you basically have to read the material and then tell people why they should cover the book. So that just seemed really apt, and I thought it was the perfect job for me. Plus I get to read free books, so it was a pretty good perk. Working as a publicist for about 6 to 7 years, I've been, like I said, pitching media and arranging events for authors and illustrators all across the US. So pitching them for book festivals, pitching them to do store visits and school visits and things like that. And what I found is there weren't really people coming to the Bronx. There was some spillage into the South Bronx, but not really. And even when we had the Barnes & Noble that was in Co-op City before it closed, I tried really, really hard to get a couple authors in there. And, I got a lot of resistance from the event coordinator there. They were like, for our demographic, like people aren't going to come out, so it has to be like a big name author to come and visit. And I remember just feeling so bummed out by that, because I'm like, I'm trying to bring authors into the borough, you know, like I want people to come out and say like, yeah, I went to this really cool event at this bookstore in the Bronx, but I couldn't, there was no way for me to get those types of authors and illustrators into the Bronx, and that really, really, really bothered me. And I thought over the years, like one day somebody's gonna open up a bookstore or something will happen, I don't know, we'll see. And while I was working in publishing, early on in my career, I had never attended a book festival before. And, you know, my boss was like, oh, we need you to escort an author to the Brooklyn Book Festival. Like, you know, can you do this? And I was just like, yeah, I can do it. And in my head, I was like, I didn't even know there was a Brooklyn Book Festival. I don't know what to expect, right? So I went and I was like, whoa, this just blew my mind. You know, hundreds of people all over, sitting, watching authors talk on panels and sign books and watching readers engage with them. I said to myself, why isn't there something like this happening in the Bronx? And, you know, that was like the seed for the idea. And over the years, I decided I really, really want to do something like this, but I didn't think that I was ready, I guess. And finally, after, you know, the Barnes & Noble closed, I was like, okay, yeah, it's really time to get pushing on this, because there's over 1.4 million people in the borough. 600,000 of those people are children and teens. They've never seen or met, you know, New York Times best-selling, award-winning authors. You know, I think the Bronx has a huge indie community, meaning indie authors, self-published authors and writers. It's so rich. The literary scene is definitely here. But I really wanted to introduce people to, you know, award-winning, traditionally published authors and illustrators, because I think it's really important for people to know that these types of individuals exist in the book publishing industry. And so by doing this festival, I'm hoping to accomplish that. So the festival will be May 19th, Saturday, at Fordham Plaza, right across the street from Fordham University. It's free and open to the public. You do have to RSVP, and that's just to help me and the bookseller gauge how many books we need to order and things like that, and what the capacity is going to be like. So there's a lot of enthusiasm behind it. Super excited about it. We're going to have 6 panels. Where it's going to be adult programming, young adult programming, a middle grade panel, and then there's going to be a picture book tent, which will have about 10 to 11 author and illustrators reading and signing in the tent. So I'm really excited for Bronxites to come out and to have a lot of fun and to meet authors of color specifically. So the festival is definitely geared toward people of color, and I want all of you to come out. Don't be late. If you are, make sure you have a mob of people with you, and then it's acceptable. But yeah, that's basically how the festival came to be and why I'm so excited about it. And I just want to give back to the community and remind people of the Bronx that you matter. You know, there are books out there written by people who look like you, and we want you to come and pick up those books, read, ask them questions. They're really excited to come out all the way uptown to the Bronx. And, you know, Fordham Plaza is, you know, a central location. So there's no excuse for people in the South Bronx, people in the North Bronx, the West Bronx, the East Bronx. Like, you guys can all come. So no excuses. Come down. Hope to see you there.
What are your thoughts on a production space, a studio space that's accessible to Bronxites to either film or do photos?
I think it's huge. I already said that I think a lot of people are underestimating the people of the Bronx, and by having something locally owned in the community, fabulous, and I'm sure you're not going to be charging an arm and a leg where it's like you got to, sell your arm just to have a photo shoot. So I think it's cool. The space is dope. It's very homey. I like the lights. They don't make me sweat, which is nice. I know that's probably gross to say on camera.
That's
but
why I got them. They're called soft boxes. It's like, it's intense light, but it's soft light.
It's soft light, I've done a few things where I'm like, the lights are so hot, but these are not. So that's really dope. But yeah, I hope people come out and visit. It's really easy to get to. I mean, I drove here, but fine.
And what was your experience here today like? Just
it was
here,
great. You're a really great interviewer. So thank you. And he also has water, y'all. That's important. I've done some things where I'm like, you don't have water? Okay.
Oh my God.
He's got his P's and Q's, guys. All right, he's crossing those T's, dotting those I's.
Thank you for being here today.
Thank you for having me.
A wonderful experience sitting here talking with you today.